Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are on this fast forward planet, sadly still wrapped in a pandemic, which is surging like never before here in the United States. It's a tragic situation. There's light at the end of the tunnel, but without a lot of social distancing and care for caretakers, the path to that rollout of the vaccine is going to be incredibly rough. I'm Andy Revkin at Columbia University's Earth Institute, although of course today I'm coming to you as always from the Hudson River Valley, specifically the Hudson Highlands. I'm here today with Patricia Watts and others to celebrate the life and work and reverberating legacy of Amy Lipton, a good friend of ours and a great friend of the arts, where they intersect with the environment. I thought we'd start out with Pete Seeger, a wonderful song he wrote in 1959. It's one of his least known songs. It's his shortest song. I think it's 59 seconds or so, but it serves a valuable purpose this morning. So here we go.
To my old brown earth and to my old blue sky, I'll now give these last few molecules of I. And you who sing, and you who stand nearby, I do charge you not to cry. Guard well our human chain. Watch well you keep it strong. As long as sun will shine, and this our home keep pure and sweet and green. For now I'm yours, and you are also mine. To my old and to my old blue sky, I now give these last few molecules Once upon a time, wasn't singing a part of everyday life as much as talking, physical exercise, and religion? Our distant ancestors, wherever they were in this world, sang while pounding grain, paddling canoes, or walking long journeys. Can we begin to make our lives once more all of a piece? Finding the right songs and singing them over and over is a way to start. And when one person taps out a beat while another leads into the melody, or when three people discover a harmony they never knew existed, or a crowd joins in on a chorus as though to raise the ceiling a few feet higher, then they also know there is hope for the world.
Morning. That was pretty powerful. Says a lot about Amy, who we all miss. Maybe just a moment of silence for a second.
Muted. Oh, that was a tearjerker.
Yeah.
Amy took me out on the Clearwater sloop in 2018. I spent, a whole month in a Cold Spring with her. So I'm really grateful that I had that time there with her.
Could you, let's have everyone just introduce themselves just briefly, and so just a quick comment on how you intersected with her. Patricia Watts, you through Eco Art Space, which you joined in 1999-ish. Yeah, just give a snapshot of it.
Well, we have a mutual friend who's a curator, and that's Sue Spade. And she was a LA gallerist, and I was in LA through the late 80s in the art scene there, and had known her since the late 80s. So it was in 99, and there was kind of a convergence of things happening in 99. There was a College Art Association conference in Los Angeles where a lot of art and ecology artists got together for a panel. There was almost 20 of us, and we got into an email dialogue, and Sue had just introduced me to Amy and told me that Amy was going to be going to Germany for a show. And so I connected with Amy through email, and we all kind of got on that email group. And she invited me to go to Aachen, Germany to install a piece for Chris Ann Staccatos, who will be on a little later, a good friend of Amy's, an artist who was in the show in Aachen. And so Amy's like, they put me up in a hotel. If you can fly, get yourself here. You have a place to stay. And we never met. We'd only been emailing a couple months. So I got to Aachen, and we kind of looked at each other. We kind of looked alike, tall, dark hair, about the same age. Our kids were the same age, and it just clicked. I think we felt like sisters in some way. And I invited her to, become Eco Art Space New York, and she said yes, and that was that. It was a 20-year relationship, working relationship.
Right. And Marion Wilson, we've not met before. Where are you? Actually,
I live in.
Right?
I live in New York, but I'm spending a lot of the pandemic on Martha's Vineyard. But I live in Manhattan, and I'm an artist. Although I was working in a museum when I first met Amy in person, I was sent to, and I say it in my comments, but we were both pregnant. Our kids are the same age, so within 1 or 2 months of each other. So we had that connection of being mothers, but also being very active artists and being out in the world. And so I met her once, and then I met her 10 years later as an artist when her gallery had turned more towards environmental work. And she showed me many times, and I exhibited with Roy a couple times, and we were just friends.
And Roy, where are you living these days? Roy, where are you in the world?
I'm in Milwaukee.
Right. One of those states that's so fought over these last few months in the context of this election. And
Roy, do you have a ponytail?
Your hair's grown. Wow, your hair's grown.
And Roy,
then I gotta let it grow.
Roy, I think I met you knee deep in the Hudson somewhere. I think the first time you practice what's called ephemeral art. And when did you first meet Amy?
Yeah, I met first Amy in 1999.
So around that same
we had an appointment kind of, I was staying at a friend's place, and she was in Manhattan, and she had a job in a gallery, and we met one sunny morning. Should I tell you where it was?
Oh.
She had a horrible job it's all about money and surviving, right? So she had a job after her gallery closed with Tony Shafrazi, doing some kind of promotion work. So I met her this morning at about 10 o'clock, and we talked, and she said, that's the first time we met. And she said, well, I like your kind of artwork. I want to work with your kind of work. And that's how we met.
I'm just going to quickly show, while you're talking, I'm going to set up a little video, so you can keep talking.
Yes,
So don't be
and
surprised when this big thing pops up.
and then we were. Then I was out in the Hamptons working, and Katie, and the dog. I think was it Percy or Lily came.
Ruby. It was Ruby.
Ruby came.
Yeah.
And I have a piece also to show. Okay, okay, you have the video. This video is at Saunders Farm, and it's yeah.
So just
She
describe
created me in this show.
describe this kind of installation work you do, just and how that resonated with Amy. This kind of work in nature, with nature, with products of nature, designed to kind of, as with Pete Seeger's song a minute ago, "To My Old Brown Earth," everything goes back to nature. So just describe what you were trying to get at here.
It was Amy was curating the show. We got a little money for doing this piece, and it was the sort of the feature piece for Saunders Farm. So I came out there in August before going out to Cape Cod, and I came back. And in the beginning, it was all pristine. And when I arrived back in September, the cows had done a number there. It took all the beautiful vegetation off the shore, and so I had to decide what to do. And I thought, this pond is gorgeous, and I love simple lines and what nature has done or can do. And so nature gave me Amy just gave me carte blanche to work. She said, do
Yeah.
something. She had confidence in me, and that's the best way to be, the best way to work.
I lived on Saunders Farm for my first decade or more in the Hudson Valley, and I loved how, as the artwork started to sprout in the fields there, making sure it was compatible with or biodigestible by cows was a key part of the success or failure of the artworks that were put up on those fields.
Yes, when I was building it, I was competing with the cows.
Exactly.
And it was on the ground. They were starting to eat it, and I had to get it in the air quickly.
Yeah. I'm going to bring in a couple more people who have popped in here. My good friend, David Ross, who I haven't seen you in way over a month. David was out in Los Angeles visiting one of his daughters and grandchildren. And he's back here in the Hudson Valley. Good to see you.
It's good to see you guys too. And it's nice to be back. Just finished my quarantine and my New York State required COVID testing. And I'm happy to say that I'm all fine. And so is my wife, Peggy. And being in LA was pretty special, I have to think. Seeing the little ones was great. And just being in that warm weather for a couple of weeks was great.
Yeah.
But being here to honor our dear friend Amy is kind of wonderful. I'm glad I'm back in time to be part of it.
Did you have a song to offer? I see you're guitared up.
I have two songs. One is a song that I sung with Amy present, and I know she really enjoyed it. And another is a song I've just written. So if you don't mind, I'll do two quick songs. And
can you do one now and maybe one in a little bit?
Sure. Which would you rather me do first? The first one is "License to Kill," and the second one that I've just written.
If you don't mind doing the one you've just written, that'd be great. A little debut here in honor of Amy and
change harps and.
Oh, sorry. Yeah,
being a little messy, but
no, it's great to see you again. And Stacy Levy, hello from Pennsylvania. Hello to Pennsylvania.
So let me just say that I've known Amy since she and Barbara Bruegel had that wonderful gallery in Soho, which was just when I was director of the Whitney. It was one of the places I loved to go to because the two of them had just amazing attitude about whose work needed to be seen, and it was very different from the 99% of the galleries in Soho at the time. It was still Soho back then. It wasn't even Tribeca. It wasn't on the Lower West Side. It was Soho, and they were pioneers in a way of showing. Well, I remember seeing there was an artist named Mel Chin who I'd known from his days in Texas, but they were one of the first to show him in New York. And I remember going to see a Mel Chin show at that gallery, and it blew my mind. I think a number of other dealers occupied that space afterwards. I think Kent Gallery was there for a while and some others. But anyway, what Barbara and Amy did there was great. And the fact that they decided just to not keep it going and just not make an institution out of their gallery, each go their own way, was fantastic. Barbara did great work as an artist, and Amy, decided to go more deeply into working with artists who cared about the environment, and eco arts was a great result of that. And she really worked hard on that for her life. And when I moved up here to Beacon, I was really happy to know that she was here in the community and in the neighborhood, and we saw her at everything. She was somebody who always supported the artists who were trying to make it in this difficult time in a way that wasn't traditional, and it was great. Anyhow, I've been working on a song that I've written with lyrics from a poet whose work I've always liked, named Robert Francis, who's gone for a while now. This is a poem that he wrote in 1976. It's called "Nothing is Far," and so without his permission, I've put it to music, and here's how it goes. Can you hear this okay, Andy?
Yeah, sounds great.
Though I've never caught the word of God from any calling bird, I hear all that the ancients heard. Though I've seen no deity enter or leave a twilit tree, I see all that the seers see. A common stone can still reveal something not stone, not seen, yet real. What may a common stone reveal? Nothing is far that once was near. Nothing is hid that once was clear. Nothing was God that is not here. Here is the bird, the tree, the stone. Here is the sun, and I sit alone between the known and the unknown. Though I've never caught the word of God from any calling bird, I hear all that the ancients heard.
Beautiful. Beautiful. That says a lot about this connection between the arts and the rest of life. We too often art gets sort of cloistered off in a corner, whether it's words, lyrics, whether it's poetry or the visual arts. And
I love Francis's line, something not stone, not seen yet real. What may a common stone conceal? It's a beautiful.
Yeah, there you go. I want to show one quick thing here too. Stacy was having trouble showing slides from rural Pennsylvania there, but I have this image that this is what captures me about Stacy's work. Just my interest really stemmed partially from this particular piece. This particular piece, which shows, here we have 1970 Robert Smithson. The Great Salt Lake installation of the spiral jetty. And then Stacy has taken the same spirit, the same kind of resonance and echoes forward in a piece that's actually a remediative piece of art. It's art that not only is in the environment, but helping to remediate overload of nutrients in lakes and ponds. Stacy, if you could just quickly, I think you have a good connection now, maybe.
Yeah, I think I'm on for a decent connection. Thank goodness.
Great, and then back to Marianne, who has something to show, and then we're excited. Yannicka Pirna is slogging her way through the snow to Little Stony Point, I believe, and she'll be performing live.
another snow issue with internet. It's snowing here.
Yeah.
It snowed my internet out. But Andy, do I have time to read a little bit? If I can't show slides, can I just
Yes, you do.
read
Yes,
what I
sure.
wanted to? Because I'm an artist, and I worked a lot over the many years with Amy, and consider her a friend and still a muse in my ear. So I wanted to talk a little bit about her from an artist standpoint, as we have been, and talk about how Amy gave me an invaluable mission, which was very much about what the spiral wetland is, which is go ahead and collaborate with nature. Go take that on. And unlike many curators, she didn't have any problem with risk or uncertainty or with messiness. And that's a really important thing when you're doing eco art. There's a lot of iffiness to it. And she was totally at home with that, which I think was really made everything possible with her, because she understood that nature wasn't predictable, and that we artists were all like apprentice lion tamers. We didn't know exactly what forces we were bringing into the gallery sometimes, or into the show, and we didn't always know how it would end up. But she was incredibly supportive of that, and tolerant, and able to pivot when necessary if something went very moldy. And that kind of open-hearted support was Amy's curatorial superpower in so many ways. Her openness, her curiosity, her support would let you as an artist go places you hadn't really imagined. And that really is a magic power for a curator. And Patricia, you know that well too, because you share that with her. She really championed the idea of growth and change, and the melding of art and agriculture, which was fascinating to me. And she allowed the changes of plants and the grounds that you were working on. Roy understands this about like how your piece can change the ground that you're working on, as being part of the show. And I'm always going to appreciate how she embraced that change and flux and possibility, and allowed me to then take that into my work. All of my work, even when I wasn't working with her, became that. We did a project together called Down to Earth, Artists Create Edible Landscapes, which was at the Schuylkill Center. And we were addressing humanly edible landscapes. And I was really worried about the plague by white-tailed deer over the years. And I wanted to address that edible landscape, and how the deer were eating everything that they needed for their sustenance later, and eating every shoot and sapling that tried to grow. And so I worked with Amy to bring these kind of other eaters, not just the human eaters, out. And I created a deer exclosure called Kept Out. And she had this wonderful suggestion to set one up in my own farm in Pennsylvania, so I could kind of watch how it was working at my house, and also it would be set up in Philadelphia, 2 different biomes. And that was such a brilliant idea, and one that I've often used to have these like dueling places. So many of Amy's thoughts and passions kind of ride with a lot of different artists. We have her inside us when we're doing other projects, which is a really wonderful influence that she's had for many, many years over me, even as she was alive, and she will continue to have as a spirit in my studio practice. She also was this huge champion of eco arts. I have to say, the first time I ever heard the name eco art was from her lips. And she and Sue Spade and Patricia Watts were truly the midwives that birthed this new form of environmental art. And it's very much back to that Smithson versus my version of Smithson's Wetland, spiral wetland. It was no longer about that heroic land art excavation of nature, but a completely new form, a very essential form where artists listened hard to nature and worked to heal and to deal with nature's own forces and needs, not imposing their kind of somewhat macho selves on the landscape. And Amy was very attuned to that. And that's very much carried on by Patricia and by Sue Spade's work. So, we're still fortified in that. But Amy really got it on the boil, which was great. and such an important thing. I wish I could still turn to her to call her up to chat about a river or find out what she was thinking, talk about our daughters, which we often did. But she is still a spirit that lives on very much in our hearts, and her light is still illuminating the way. And I do find that when I come to an impasse in my work, I will have a conversation in my head with her, because sometimes those are the conversations you have with people who are no longer around. And I'll try and carry on my work of collaborating with nature, which she really kicked into full speed with me. So I'm in missing her. I'm thankful that she was on this earth for the time that she had, and for making so many new directions for artists for us to continue to follow. And I just thank Amy for lighting the way for us.
That's beautifully put. I'm showing some images from Amy's website, which some of the many installations and exhibitions she was helped to generate and to propagate. I saw Simon Draper there with his mini art gallery in mini studios. You see many people there you will all recognize and work that you'll recognize. I'm going to go to Marian Wilson again here, who had some images she wanted to share too. Marian, if you can pop them, just hit that share button again, then we can get to that. I'm going to make sure you're unmuted. And also, just so you can see, I'll show this from the beach. They're setting up there for glacier elegy down at the waterfront, and we can see live. There's Yannicka, I guess that's probably David Rothenberg, getting set. It's kind of amusing to watch. On this show, by the way, in the past, we've had Karen Brooks from her sheep farm in rural Massachusetts has shown us the sheep all the way through the spring and summer and now the winter. And there we have, look at this. We're live from Little Stony Point, littlestonypoint.org, for those who have not been to this part of the Hudson Valley. And we'll have a performance there in a couple minutes. I'm going to mute that. I'm going to keep it on screen and just keep it muted to avoid the stray sounds. And then, so Marian Wilson, I don't know. Oh yeah, I see your stuff here. Hold on one second.
Can you just see? It's just that one image I wanted to show by Amy.
I'm going to bring this up. Whoa, we're getting a.
Are you getting my entire screen?
Yeah, let's see. Oh, you'd have to. Let's take that out.
Okay.
If you send me the link to it, actually, if you post the link to that page, whatever that is you're showing, is that on the web or is it?
No, it's not.
Oh.
It was just a scan of some beautiful drawings that Amy did probably in May.
Oh, I see. Then we're not seeing the right screen. Try to stop sharing. Hit the stop sharing thing, and then when you share screen, you have to make sure you're sharing that
Just
window.
Just that one piece.
Yeah. Okay.
Otherwise, we'll get that pretty cosmic. Oh, I think I see it. Hold on. Let's try this.
Wait, no, let me get
Oh,
it.
no, I'm back. Oh, sorry. That's
you're not getting it. Let me
Amy's
get it
website.
up. Yeah, here we go. Now it's open.
This is how we do it here on Sustain What.
I know. I didn't think to send in advance. Do you see it now?
No.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I'm going to pull it up now. So hold on. Oh, no, actually.
See,
We don't see it.
Try to hit share one more time. And I'm going to see, I'll do this. I don't see it. Usually it pops out. Here we go. It's coming. But right now I still see
everything.
Us. I see us and not that image. So
let me try it one more time.
The only other thing to do would be if you email it to me in the meantime, we can, do a couple
okay.
of things.
I'll do that.
And then I can pull it up on my screen.
Yeah, that's great.
And it's kind of fun. There's still, I see some interesting things going on at the beach there. Let's see. Well, back to Patricia on this idea of what do you think the role is of art these days? The environment, whether you're a writer like me, a journalist mostly, or a musician sometimes, or a visual artist, I think our goal is to think of information in some way changing the world or changing someone's, enabling a new way to think about the world. And I wonder if each of you, if you've had a sense of either frustration or excitement, have there been moments when you've seen that happen, assuming that that's the role of some of the art you've either created or propagated? Does it feel still like a challenge? Or, I mean, and by the way, not every art piece does that. Some art is just there as a passionate reflection of the artist's creation, and that's it. So if your goal is to change the world, are we having success or are we still struggling? Maybe for Patricia first, because Eco Art Space really has gotten at that public art.
Well, that's a big conversation. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah.
I always say, it's a continuum and an evolution of what Stacy brought up about how, the feminine, the ecofeminist part of this movement. And, that has its origins back in the, late 60s, 70s. And then I think in the 80s, a lot of artists started seeing how restoration money, the government was funding a lot of restoration projects like of estuaries. And so then you saw through the 90s some very, very large scale thinking, like restoring sites, Mel Chen's work, Aviva Romani. And that kind of flowed with the money flow. And then when the government realized that, the time scale for these restoration projects was short. And so then they therefore were failing technically on paper. And so a lot of that money dried up in the late 90s. You probably know that, Andy. And so then after 9/11, we see more in your own backyard kind of work, that social practice that popped up that really was a throwback from the 60s kind of community arts. And so I think that we've kind of hit a threshold, maybe you could say. I think that a lot of the people who have done this work and who've worked in their communities, I think eco-consciousness is, proliferated, and not everybody's on board with it, but I think the people who are left are the people who are resisting it anyway. And, we have to kind of come up with new ways for that education. But yeah, I embrace, and Amy did too, all forms of art that, bring a dialogue about the environment. And that could be painting, it could be sculpture, it can be restoration, it could be all of those things. And so Eco Art Space is that now. And we have 421 members today who are doing a wide range of this work. And we support all those ways.
That's great. Roy, when you do your pieces, what's in your mind? What's your goal?
I first go to the site, consider what's available, what the site will give me, and I go to work.
And are you driven the way a beaver is driven? In other words, a beaver, biologically beavers, when they hear running water, their task is to stop water from running. Is your task, did you grow up just wanting to dive into the environment? And
the task is to be in the water, because the water is magic. It's magic. Or the land is magic. The air is magic. The materials that are there are so special. Whatever is there that works is what I'm looking for. I have a video of Amy and Simon. I'm trying to download it to send it to you. It just shows the joy of Amy being happy with art, presenting art. It's from where you have the flowers all gone. Do you have it?
Well,
I did it for YouTube.
Yannicka is a
yes. I think we're gonna go to the beach. I think Yannicka is. Let's all go to the beach.
There we are. Okay.
Hold on. So if you could all mute for a minute, just mute your.
Andy, is this north of, or however you say, up the Hudson from Cold Spring?
It's literally, it's a quarter, not even a quarter mile. It's a very short walk from Cold Spring.
I know where that's at. Yeah.
To the beach.
Just north.
And I'm just going to maximize it here.
Yeah.
So here we are. And I'm not sure if they were going to signal me. Let's see. I'm going to check my phone to see. No, I think we're going. So Amy, this is Yannicka Pirna. I'm going to put her name and website in the chat, in the public chat in a minute. And she's doing performance at one of my favorite spots in the world, I would say, Little Stony Point, which is it used to be a quarry right up until the 1970s. This was an active quarry loading zone. And it's been turned into a state park through the work of Pete Seeger and some other friends here in the region. This little neglected peninsula became.
You've got her muted still, Andy.
a park. I want it to be muted. I think they're not doing anything on the beach that's sound. Yeah, they're not broadcasting sound. So I'm just giving a little bit of a description of what's going on. So this is an area that was an industrial zone, and it's been reclaimed by the living world, the non-human living world.
Quiet, Andy. We can hear you.
That's a glacier, a piece of a glacier.
I was just told that they can hear us on the beach. That's so funny. So we'll be quiet.
Kitty.
Really beautiful. Can't hear you, Andy. You're on mute.
Yes, there we go. Everything I was saying. So we're back. That was magnificent. David, thank you for narrating while I was silenced. I was saying that the other dancer, so that was Yannicka Pirna, who's a...
Can't hear you, Andy.
Yeah, you're good.
I think you can now, right?
I can hear you. Fine.
So we're back.
Yannicka Pirna is one of the dancers.
I was saying that the other dancer, so that was Yannicka Pirna.
What's going on?
And there was
Now we're getting a really bad echo.
Somebody's got their YouTube on.
Okay, there we go. I think we're back. Oh, here's Yannicka. Hold on.
That's
Oh,
David.
you must be frozen, Yannicka.
That's David.
David,
Wear the
I can't
mask.
see. David, can you hear me? Yes, you're appropriately masked. Can you hear me?
Yep.
David Rothenberg. Okay, so we have a... Oh, there he vanished too. Anyway, Yannicka Pirna was dancing along with Jane Thornquist, who is a nurse now. She was a professional dancer for years and then transitioned into nursing. So all through this COVID-19 stretch, one of those two dancers on the river there has been working really hard on the front lines of the pandemic. And that was a magnificent performance of a piece called Glacier Elegy. And it was wonderful for Yannicka to be able to offer that. I see here Joanne McGarry, a frequent listener here, says, "Happy birthday, Andre Codrescu." Is this your birthday, Andre?
Solstice event. Thank you.
Happy birthday to you.
I've made
Happy
it
solstice
2001
almost to all
nights.
of us. We're going to resume some of the conversation now. I see Frederica Foster is with us as well. We have a total of 8 here. There's only 9 who can be on this at any one time. So we'll have to make sure, some of us will have to kind of pop off and watch on the regular links soon. Marion Wilson, was there something else you wanted to offer up? What are you thinking right now?
I actually wrote some comments for Amy. I just have a tendency to do that. And there is one image of some drawings of hers that you're welcome to share. I didn't prepare a PowerPoint or anything, but that one little project you're welcome to share. Otherwise, I'll just make my comments and leave. And I have a Mary Oliver poem that I wanted to read at the end of my comments, which seems relevant. So I, like many of us here, likely did not have a chance to call Amy to say goodbye. Amy was a longtime friend and frequent collaborator, and I know she is now listening. I would like to dedicate my comments to Katie, as I believe Katie was the center of Amy's life. The first time I met Amy in person was in 1995 in her gallery in Soho. I had been flown as an emissary for a Southern collecting group from Louisville, Kentucky, to look at some very early work by Amy Silman and Karen Finley's large drawings. Amy Lipton was a very visionary curator, and she and I were both very pregnant at that time. Shortly after, maybe within a month or two, she gave birth to Katie, and I gave birth to my son. While I was preparing to speak today, I was looking for a poem to read by Mary Oliver, and I accidentally typed in Mary Gordon, a favorite novelist. Believing that there are no accidents, particularly at moments like this, I listened to Mary Gordon speak about women's voices, the description of her own family, her father, and her belief in the importance of the interior world. I thought momentarily what it would have been like to have been raised by Amy. And again, of course, I thought of Katie. And I thought of all of us as well, this community of artists who loved Amy and in many cases worked with Amy. I believe that Amy, in many ways, raised all of us. To be a friend of Amy's, there was a kind of unconditionality. You felt accepted, praised, supported, encouraged, believed in. No matter what you did, she didn't judge. I believe this translated to her work as a curator. The way she treated her friends was the same way she treated the artists. The two were inseparable. Amy raised us to be our best selves, to rise up, so to speak. And Amy could be righteous in the best sense of the word. She was a feminist, an activist, an environmentalist. She also had a quiet side. She herself loved to draw. And there are some drawings that she drew beautiful images, and I'm very grateful to have several of those drawings as I invited her to participate in the collaborative pandemic drawing project. And she completed them as early as May. And they were just made with dyes and herbs and things that we had in our houses when we thought the world was going to end back last spring. When I finally did locate the Mary Oliver poem I was looking for, I remember that she, Mary Oliver, the poet, spent most of her life on Cape Cod along the shores of which I'm speaking today, which Amy also loved. I wanted to read a poem by Mary Oliver that I think Amy would love. Amy was a nurturer of others, and I thought this an excellent time for me, for all of us, to nurture her now on her journey. So this poem is called Love, Sorrow. Love, sorrow. She is yours now, and you must take care of what has been given. Brush her hair, help her into her little coat, hold her hand, especially when crossing a street. For think what if you should lose her? Then she would be sorrow herself. Her drawn face, her sleeplessness would be yours. Take care, touch her forehead, that she feel herself not so utterly alone. And smile that she does not altogether forget the world before the lesson. Have patience in abundance, and do not ever lie or ever leave her again for a moment by herself, which is to say, possibly again abandoned. She is strange, mute, difficult, sometimes unmanageable, but remember she is a child. And amazing things can happen, and you may see, as the two of you go, walking together in the morning light, how little by little she relaxes. She looks about her. She begins to grow. Love you, Amy.
Wow. Really perfect words, Marian.
Thank you. Thanks.
Her drawing table, I think there's some pictures on her Facebook page of that. It was like, she did have a beautiful hand.
Yeah. So do you want me to sign off so other people can come on?
Well, if you can keep watching on one of those external links, that would be great. Marianne, it was great to have you here. Stacy Levy is, I think, going to drop off too from Pennsylvania. Stacy, I love your work. Thanks you for being part of this. And it was great to learn, Stacy, about your connection to Amy. And we have a few more folks who are coming on too. Jim Polk, who'll be on soon, and Kat Guthrie, who was a musical stimulus for Amy as well. Now, Andre, briefly, I think you said you had a poem that came to mind in thinking about this connection of arts and
yes. I'm sorry I didn't know your friends, but this poem by Ted Berrigan puts together two of my favorite poets, Arthur Rimbaud and Ted Berrigan. And it's a sonnet he wrote, and it is a translation interpretation of Rimbaud. Sweeter than sour apples flesh to boys, the brine of brackish water pierced my hulk, cleansing me of rot-gut wine and puke, sweeping away my anchor in its swell. And since then, I've been bathing in the poem of the star-steeped, milky, flowing, mystic sea, devouring great sweeps of azure green and watching flotsam, dead men float by me, where dying out of blue, the maddened flames and stately rhythms of the sun, stronger than alcohol, more great than song, fermented the bright red bitterness of love. I've seen skies of splitted light and night, and surfs, currents, water spouts. I know what evening means, and doves, and I have seen what other men sometimes have thought they've seen. This from Ted's book, Sonnets. Ted Bergen, great poet, American poet, died in 1983.
Thank you, and happy birthday. It's great that
Thank
you've
you.
been a presence here almost every week of our sessions here, these Arts and Hearts sessions on Sundays of the Earth Institute. Sustain What broadcast. Frederica Foster, we have not met, and I would love to bring you into the conversation.
Oh.
And thank you, Andre.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Be well.
Thank you, Andy. Yeah, I won't be long. I met Amy right after I first moved to New York, and I had my studio. My first studio was on Mott Street, and her gallery was on Crosby Street. And as the years went by, I got more involved in the idea that art could really help in terms of the environment. And Amy had a tremendous influence on that. And when I was selected as a guest curator for the Think About Water show at the Cathedral, Amy introduced me to many of the artists that showed up on a DVD that we had continuously going during that exhibition. And other artists that we knew in common, like Chris Ann, was also in that exhibition. I just seen Roy, I remember that wonderful day when you and Amy were installing your exhibition at Garrison, and I happened to be there on a retreat and got to watch you guys working on that. That was really fun. So the last time, anyway, Amy, I think the most extraordinary thing about her is how much she helped artists and how dedicated she was to that. One of the ways that she directly benefited me was I had a show at Beacon, and I see David is here. He was playing with Red at the opening of that exhibition because he did music on water with that group, as well as Motherlode, who also sang. So
right.
Amy was absolutely critical in that happening. She introduced me to Terry plants, and her mother was dying, so she wasn't able to curate a water show with a lot of people, but I got that gig.
By the way, I'm showing some visuals from that Think About Water show that you just mentioned.
Well, this actually is the Think About Water website that I put up, that Amy was one of the members of, and Patricia, of course, remains there with Eco Art Space.
Right.
So Amy had a tremendous impact on my life. And the last time I talked to her was in March in Garrison. I'm going to miss her a lot. And I'm going to pop off now so other people can come on. And thank you so much for the opportunity to talk about this wonderful, wonderful woman.
Thank you for being here. You mentioned your last visit with her in Garrison. Mine was too. We were walking the grounds at the Garrison Institute to talk about things. It was probably around some late spring, mid-spring, before she got really into the final stages. And it was an inspiring walk. And for me, what was so interesting about my interactions with her, and I assume some of you have the same sensation, she just thought and felt everything so deeply. She just was completely, we're walking and there's a lot of thinking going on and feeling going on in every sentence that she would utter. It was nothing about it was stray. She was a very focused soul.
So, and thank you, Andy. It's so nice to see you. So I'm going to leave now.
Okay, take care of yourself. Be well.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye. And I'm seeing also Kat Guthrie, who was a very important person in Amy's life and connecting her through music with others as well. Kat, how are you doing? I haven't seen you face-to-face in many months.
I haven't seen a lot of people face-to-face in many months. I am doing well, thank you. I love the fact that you played To My Old Brown Earth at the beginning of this. We sang that, I don't know if many of you know, but Amy loved to sing. And singing brought out a whole different side of her. And so she sang in our choir, the Dream Choir that I direct, and she was with it in it from the very beginning. And we sang To My Own Brown Earth. And it was so touching to hear that again. Thanks, Andy.
That's good. I'm glad. And I think Jim Polk is coming on shortly, who was a big part of her life through that final year and who was connected to her through your choir.
Yeah, they were our choir couple. It was
A choir couple. Are they the only choir couple?
They were well. They were the only one who met in the. They connected in the choir, which was really cool.
Yeah.
I loved. I love the fact that Pete Seeger was talking about how important it is to sing too, and we forget that. And what I loved about Amy was that it was always so positive in the choir. She said, she would say to me, this choir brought me back to life. I love this choir so much. She would never complain. And some of the people in the choir didn't even know she was as sick as she was. So it was a shock when they heard that she had died. She had this heartful, such a huge heart and such beautiful optimism. I did, when I watched Jannika's powerful piece, I did think of a short poem that I would love to share.
That'd be wonderful.
It's, and I'd like to dedicate it to Katie. Katie and my son Keaton went to the same school.
And before you read it, though, I see James Polk has come into the green room.
Okay.
And I think he just had some cocoa there and nibbled on the marshmallows.
Oh, good.
And here he is. No, just kidding. Jim Polk, good morning, and it's good to see you and have you as part of this this celebration of Amy Lipton's life and legacy. And hopefully you can see who else is here. How are you doing, Jim?
I can't see me.
I see you.
We see you. We see you. Smile, Jim.
Yeah.
Jim was always
Where's your guitar?
Jim was always the choir cut up. He was the bad boy of the choir, right? So Amy went for the bad boy. Uh-oh.
I think he had a bad connection. He'll come back in. So Kat, you mentioned you have a poem in mind. And then David Ross, I'd love it if you'd had.
Can I have a question real quick?
Yep,
Were all the choir practices at your house?
Yes, they were.
Because I came to home with Amy in 2018.
Oh, yes. Uh-huh.
And she was pointing across the room and showing me who Jim was. She's like, that's him. And then we get outside, and he asked her out for the first time.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I was there.
You were there from the beginning. That's wonderful. Yeah, so I wanted to dedicate this poem to Katie. It's attributed to Ernest K. Gann, but I think it actually may belong to someone else. It goes like this. You are standing upon a shore somewhere. A ship before you spreads her white sails and starts for the blue ocean. She is a beautiful and strong ship, and you watch her until she hangs like a speck of white cloud, just where the sea and sky come down to mingle with each other. Then someone at your side says, there, well, she's gone. Gone where? From your sight, that's all. And she is just as large in mast and spar as when she left your shore, just as strong and able. Her diminished size is in you, not in her. And while someone at your side is saying, she's gone, there are other eyes watching her coming and ready to take up the glad shout, there she comes.
Beautiful.
That's beautiful, Kat.
Thank you.
David Ross, did you have a song in mind?
Yeah, I just one more song that I wanted to sing in Amy's memory. It's a song that people don't connect with Dylan, but because Tom Petty made a bigger hit out of it, but it's still a great song called "License to Kill." Man thinks 'cause he rules the earth, He can do it as he please, but if things don't change soon, he will. Old man has invented his doom. The first step was touching the moon. But there's a woman on my block. She just sits there as the night grows still, and she says, who's gonna take away his license to kill? Now they take him and they teach him and they groom him for life, and they set him on a path where he's bound to get ill. Then they bury him with stars. They treat his body like they sell used cars. Now there's a woman on my block. She just sits there facing the hill, and she says, who's gonna take away his license to kill? Now he's hell-bent for destruction. He's afraid and confused, and his brain has been mismanaged with great skill. All he believes are his eyes, and his eyes just tell him lies. But there's a woman on my block. She just sits there in a cold chill, and she says, who's gonna take away his license to kill? Maybe a noisemaker, spirit maker, heartbreaker, backbreaker, no leave no stone unturned. Maybe an actor in a plot that may be all that you got till your error you clearly learn. Now he worships at an altar of a stagnant pool, and when he sees his reflection, he's fulfilled. Oh, man is opposed to fair play. He wants it all and he wants it his way. But there's a woman on my block. She just sits there as the night grows still, and she says, who's gonna take away his license to kill?
Thank you, David. Beautiful.
Pleasure.
So, David, maybe another quick thought. As a longtime curator, museum director, and someone focused on the environment, I was asking Patricia earlier about this question of how the arts matter. What is it about art that plays a role in sustainability when this comes into your thinking?
Well, it's for the last almost 40 years, I'd say, artists have kind of woken up to the fact that all art is political, that there's no way of making art that's not political. And if you choose to make art that's just about, enjoyment and relaxation and beauty, that's a political statement too. That's saying, you know what, just forget about that trouble out there and just lay back. And, for me, the artists who've mattered in this last 40 years are those who recognize that their job is political, that they are charged with creating actual new knowledge, that their way of creating realities and communicating those realities with the world gives them a new responsibility. And we've seen that emerge in the generations that have followed the 60s. And Amy was absolutely a part of that generation, and the artists that she's touched and the artists that will come after her and after the people who come after her will all be touched by a sense that the artist's job has been redefined. The artist is no longer just an entertainer. The artist is no longer just making monuments to the rich and powerful. The artist is an agent of change. And Amy was part of that revolution. And that's one of the reasons we honor her today.
Those are points well made. Yeah, that we forget about that key aspect of the omission. When you're doing something in one area, you're not doing something in another area.
Matisse always said that his paintings were an armchair for the weary businessman. And that was a beautiful thing to say. Who wouldn't want a Matisse at the end of a nice, hard day to sink into and just look at in like a warm bath? But that was his response to the Second World War. That was his response to the horrors. But there were the other responses also. And I think we are living now in the legacy of those who said, no, it's not an armchair for the weary businessman. It's like Pete said, this machine kills fascists.
Right.
We all have machines that we have to use to fight the power and stand up for what's important for our children and our grandchildren and their grandchildren.
And
Andy, something that's important to know is that Amy, she went to Cal Arts, and a lot of curators are, art history majors. And both Amy and I, I have my master's, but she has her degree from Cal Arts in art and design. She literally was doing graphic design. And so we always refer to ourselves as artists.
I think she studied with Sheila de Bretteville, actually, there, who was a really important force in feminism as well. And
we had a different process because of that. I think we saw ourselves as artists, and our curating was our art, and that was a different way. And I think Stacy touched on that. It was that kind of willingness to delve into the process with the artist. A lot of artists will step back and just let the artist fall on their face if they're going to. But Amy and I would take the extra steps to nurture, and a lot of these pieces you have to water and
I'm showing some of that right now from her website.
Monitor daily. So both of us have been caretakers of artworks throughout our careers.
Most artists are curators. Very few curators are artists. And Amy was a perfect example of an artist who was blurring that line between her responsibilities as an artist and the potential of being a curator and bringing others into her process and sharing.
Well, and your life is art. Your life is the process. So curation is an active form of creation, essentially.
But she wasn't worried about posterity in the way that an art historian would be. It wasn't academic. It was more process oriented.
I see that Jim Polk is back with us. Jim, can you hear us okay? Well, maybe he's going to get his guitar. I have a feeling. Whoop. Oh no, did we lose him again? He was here briefly. Let's see. Roy, part of what we're seeing here is some of your work. I saw the piece that you had installed at the Garrison Institute. And the other work I remember well down by the water also. Do you have some we're getting toward the end of our morning here, and I didn't know if you had any other reflections to offer. I was going to read a piece that Amy had sent, that some of the words Amy had written about your work. I'm having a technical issue with that right now. So if you could reflect a little bit, that would be great.
Yes. I showed it with Amy in 14 shows.
14.
And I know her for over 20 years. And we had fun together. And we worked together. And I have a bunch of images, but I don't know how to post them of what we did. We did some crazy things at the Bulldog Studio, which was wonderful in 2002. And after I did the visiting for the place, and then we hung a work from the ceiling and presented large photographs. And at the end of the show, instead of making a mess in the hallway, we threw the things out the window, which caused an uproar with the administration. And of course, that's when she lost Bulldog Studio, thanks to me. But that's how you do things intuitively and the most direct, and that's how we work together.
That's great.
So I have a bunch of images, but I don't know if you want to see the images, or I don't know how to post them.
Well, it may be tough unless you can share a screen that you're looking at. There is a share screen function in StreamYard. You would see a little button there.
Do I push the button? There we go.
And let's see. It should pop up in a way that I can then open. So.
You got the wheel. Okay.
I don't see it yet. I do see Jim Polk getting his guitar out. So Jim, if you're ready to try for the song, let's do that first.
Okay. Can I just say I'm like super
Andy,
nervous?
I'm going to my lead.
Also
David Ross, great to see you. Thanks again. Let's get together from a distance.
You
really soon. Have a good day.
The
Thanks
connection
again.
keeps popping in and out, so
Well, let's go for it. Whoop! Oh, there it. As he was saying. Well, hold on. Let me let's have one more musical moment. Hold on a second.
We should have made a video that you could have shared. Darn it.
Oh, that's easier, the video, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, for people who have bad, Wi-Fi connections, it's good.
Yeah, well, this says a lot about, this show. I've done some sessions on here about the digital divide. Those are in this country, millions and millions of people who can't
He's
get on the internet at all.
And so is Stacy. She's out in the middle of nowhere.
I know. So Jim is back. Maybe we'll try one more time. I'm just going to do a quick tune in honor of my friend. I know she liked this one, and it's about the landscape that we cherished up here. Let's do that. And just mute your mics for a second. I came from old New England's shores. I miss those salty tides. My friends from Rocky Mountains high, they crave their starry skies. I hear it echo. Hold on a second. I think Jim. Whoop. Let's just try one more time. I came from old New England's shores. I miss those salty tides. My friends from Rocky Mountains high, they crave their starry skies. Some flock to California towns where sunsets glow like ale. But it's Hudson River banks and hills that make my soul set sail. From Breakneck Ridge to the Bear Mountain Bridge and all that lies between. In autumn's gold and winter snows and spring and summer's green. A billion years of time and toil are etched in these old hills, carved by ice and dynamite, but they stand firm here still. Seen tomahawks and cannon fire and mighty industries, but these Hudson Highlands will endure when we are history. From Breakneck Ridge to the Bear Mountain Bridge and all that lies between. In autumn's gold and winter snows and spring and summer's green. I've been around this whole wide world. I've been up toward the pole. But when I die, please let me lie in Hudson Valley soil. From Breakneck Ridge to the Bear Mountain Bridge and all that lies between. In autumn's cold and winter snows and spring and summer's green. There we go. Thank you. And I see Jim is here. Kat, I think I'm getting a bit of a big echo from your line. If you have headphones or anything, that'd be great. I'm not quite sure what happened. Jim, let's try one more time, if you can. Say a word.
It keeps cutting out, so I'll see how far we get before it does this framing. At an apartment in the city, me and Loretta like living there. It's been years since the kids have grown a life of their own, left us alone. John and Linda live in Omaha. Joe is somewhere on the road. We lost Davy in the Korean War, but still don't know what for. Don't matter anymore. You know, old trees just grow stronger. Rivers grow wilder every day. Old people just grow lonesome, waiting for someone to say hello in there, hello. Me and Loretta don't talk much more. She sits and stares at the back door screen. All the news just repeats itself like some forgotten dream that we both see. Someday I'll go and call up Rudy. We work together at the factory. What'll I say if he asks what's new? Nothing, what's with you? Nothing much to do. You know, old trees just grow stronger. Rivers grow wilder every day. Old people just grow lonesome, waiting for someone to say hello in there, hello. So if you're walking down the street sometime, you spot some hollow ancient eyes, please don't just pass them by and stare as if you didn't care. Say hello in there, hello. That's all I got.
That's plenty. That was beautiful.
Kind of nervous.
It worked. So,
But
and I bring
the
Roy
thing
back
cuts
in.
me out. Can I just say something? Because Amy, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I just, Kat, we met in the choir, and, you know, it just changed my life knowing her, knowing Amy, and all these people that, I'm sorry, you know, I'm just a better person for having known all you guys, and that's all I need to say.
You know,
I'm done.
Jim, the last time I heard that, am I echoing?
No, good.
I'm echoing on my end, but the last time I heard you sing that, it was with Amy, and so that really got to me. So thank you for doing it again on this. It was beautiful. Thank you so much.
It was beautiful. I'm showing Amy's drawing pad, her room from her Facebook site. It's kind of a final way to think about her. And I appreciate all of you coming here today, convening to celebrate her life and the resonance that will continue long after these days and weeks. She really has created ripples in the world that will persist as long as we propagate them. So this has been a very special, unusual session of Sustain What, the Sunday version, which is always devoted to the arts and hearts, as the weekday versions of this webcast are all about tough activities related to stemming the pandemic and stemming climate change and conserving biodiversity and building better societies. The arts and hearts play a big role in doing all of those things. And Sundays are when we pause to convene and to celebrate creation in all of its. Oh, and guess what? Chris Ann is here. We might have had some technical issues, but I see you here. So hold on. Convene and to celebrate creation. And now we're getting a big echo again. So I'm going to mute for a second to see if we can avoid that. Ann is here. We might have had some technical issues, but I see you here. Hold on. Convene and to celebrate creation. And now we're getting a big echo again. So I'm going to mute for a second to see if we.
The echo is coming probably from Chris Ann.
We might have had some technical issues.
You have to turn off the Facebook version. Yeah. If Chris Ann, if you have the Facebook version playing, you have to turn that off.
Just for a moment, just so she can figure that out.
Yeah.
Okay.
She can hear us though. Take off
too.
Hey, thanks, Kat. It was beautiful to have you here, and James. Hold on. So I'm going to unmute you. Okay.
You can hear us though. Take off too.
Hey, thanks, Kat. It's still going. Yeah. Chris Ann, you have to turn off everything except for the direct link to the webcast.
Roy, mute yourself, please. Roy's not muted.
I've muted her. Just Roy's not. Roy's.
Roy.
Can you hear me? Chris Ann, you have to turn off everything except for the direct link to the webcast.
Roy, mute yourself, please.
I'm not sure.
I've muted her. Just Roy's not. I think we're going to have to call this to a close. I'm sorry about the last minute issues there. It was a beautiful morning, great celebration of an amazing life. And now the key thing is to keep living and to carry on those reverberations in the arts and where they intersect with ecology, environment, and social equity, women's empowerment, and everything else that Amy stood for. Thanks, Patricia.
Andy, thank you so much for doing this for Amy this morning. This is so generous of you. And we will be having a memorial Zoom event with Eco Art Space on January 6th, which is a Wednesday at 11 Mountain Standard Time. And Mel Chen will be speaking and a few other artists who she's worked with. So yeah, we'd love to have you speak as well if you'd like to join us.
So ecoartspace.org is where people can find out more about that upcoming event. Great. Well, everything we can do, again, to sustain this conversation, I think is really important. The work she did has created potentialities that need to be carried forward. So thanks to everybody who showed up today, both on screen and those who came to listen. Please share this show as soon as we're done. Whatever link you're watching on will become the archived link on LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and that's archived and there to share at any time. Whether it was Yannicka Pierna's performance on the beach, Roy Staab's amazing ephemeral art, David Ross's songs and thoughts, and sorry, Chris Ann, about the technical issues at the end. We'll perfect this all. You know, everything we're doing is a work in progress in this life. And I thank you all for being here today. I'm Andy Revkin at the Earth Institute of Columbia University. Be well and stay safe from a distance. Carry through these next few months as carefully as you can while the vaccine starts to make its way into society. And that's it. Take care, everybody.